So I want to talk a little bit about Shabbos and my experience with keeping Shabbos. Such an incredible gift we have, especially nowadays with just so much external stimulation and stress. It's like unbelievably overwhelming. It can be. And I never really liked keeping Shabbos. I shouldn't say never. When I was a kid, it was the best day. It was the funnest day. Like, parents went to bed, no babysitter, 7 kids on their own, plus neighbors, just running around. I mean, it was just the best time. It was really good times, really fun. But then when I was kind of, numbed and zoned out of life, there were other things I wanted to do, and I just didn't want to be keeping Shabbos. This is so inconvenient. There's a lot of skateboarding competitions happening over Shabbos, and I wanted to go see and participate in. And it was just like I wanted to train, and I wanted to just do things. I didn't appreciate it for what it was. And throughout the past couple years, I started getting to know myself and who I really am, and connecting to my soul and meditating and just being more aware, more conscious. And I started realizing that I was keeping Shabbos without actually making that decision, like, oh, I want to keep Shabbos. I always was, kind of, but not in a real way. It wasn't in a really, it was kind of superficial, I guess. If I'm home, I'm keeping Shabbos, my family keeps Shabbos. If I'm out and I don't, I just don't. Like, it wasn't, I'm not keeping Shabbos, but it wasn't an official, oh, I'm going to fully accept and keep Shabbos now. It wasn't a decision. It was more, I slowly stopped using my phone even during the week. It was so overwhelming for me. Watching movies was overwhelming. Listening to music. There were all these, subliminal messaging, I guess. There was I was so sensitive to any external energy, any external influence, that I really cut myself off from even my messages, to my parents or my friends. It was too much for me at one point to even use my phone. I would go on it for necessity of work, I guess. And even that, I was really not that very good at. Communication effectively with work stuff. But anyways, I really took the time spending time on my own, listening to, observing my thoughts, talking to myself, reading, a lot of meditation. And, by default, that day ended up being Shabbos, because during the week I was busy doing, what it was that I had to do in order to get by. And Shabbos would come around and I had reason to not use my phone and not feel guilty, like I'm not answering messages, or not get, 20 missed calls about people that are worried about me. It was Shabbos. So, and that became my day off. And then from that point, so Shabbos really became this day where I just really felt at ease. I felt such peace with myself, with my mind, with the world. And I wasn't really keeping or not keeping. It just was a day off for me. And slowly things evolved from there. I think only, having the day off to really connect to yourself, it just allows for more clarity for your next steps and where you should be going, what you should be doing. And that's what Shabbos did for me then. And it was a couple months, I guess, after that point where I wanted more for my Shabbos day. I wanted, Friday night Shabbat, I wanted more for myself, not just meditating and reading, because I would spend the entire day at the beach from the morning till Shabbos was out, by myself, sometimes with friends, just in my own thoughts, like davening. At the time, I was just calling it talking to God. Just, that was my Shabbos day. And I got to the point where I naturally felt like I wanted something more out of the day. And it was only a couple months after that, I don't remember exactly what triggered it, but I had picked up a sitter one Friday night. I think I was at a Shabbaton. I actually can't even remember. It'll probably come to me because it was a very big turning point in my life. But I picked up a sitter, and it was Friday night davening, actually. I must have been at a Shabbaton. And the words just really struck something within me. All these years, davening like Kabbalah Shabbos and just davening in general, but I never really understood the power of it and the meaning and the words. And it was like all the meditations I had been listening to, all the spiritual teachers that I had been listening to, all the holistic healing and energy healers, like everybody that I had been listening to, so much of what they were saying were in these tefillos. And it was like, wow, like I had missed something all these years. I don't understand. I kind of got to recognize, I don't even fully grasp, but my understanding of tefillah sort of came about through first having studied it, all the other ways. And I just thought it was so powerful. And I remember that Friday night I was just crying and davening. And it was really beautiful. There was like singing and dancing. And it was really beautiful. And it was really at that point where it just naturally, there was a truth. There was truth. This was my truth. There was something true about this that I wanted to experience more of from my inside. It wasn't like a mind concept. It wasn't a mind's idea or a conscious decision of like, this is something I want to study now. Just naturally, there was something inside me that was yearning and like wanting to learn more about this day and wanting more out of this day for myself. And that's when I started just reading up on it and reading first I just started with literally basic translation of the tefillah that we're reading and like, what is Kiddush? What does Kiddush actually mean? And I really want to stress how this came about from a very, very natural, non-resistant place. It wasn't like feelings of guilt, like, oh, I should know what Shabbos is. Let me like try and be a better person and keep Shabbos, or let me like work on myself. It came naturally. There was no resistance to wanting to keep Shabbos. Like there was no resistance. And there was no resistance in wanting to learn about it. Like I didn't have enough time in the day to read as much as I wanted to read. Like that's how I felt. And the point of me really sharing all of this is in life, my experience, okay, just my experience. In my life, there have been so many instances where I've just done things. Basically my entire life. My entire life. I've just done things without really questioning them. I think when I was a kid, I questioned everything and it was too much for me. So I just shut myself off and stopped questioning. But I would just do without really knowing why I'm doing it, or without even tapping in, is this true for me? And Shabbos feels very true for me right now. It feels like this is my truth. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I want to be doing. It's not even supposed to. This is what I want to be doing. And I think it's really, really important and really powerful to take a step back, no matter where you are in your life, where you're holding physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, with your Yiddishkeit, mental health, any part of your life. I just think it's important when we can take a step back and question Why am I doing this? Do I want to be doing this? What does this mean for me? What does this mean to me? Is there a little bit of resistance there? Do you accept the resistance? Are you fighting the resistance? Like, oh my God, I don't want to be keep Shabbos, but I should be keeping Shabbos. Like, that's not a way. That's not a way. That's not a way. And I think it's important when we can step back, question, and then really genuinely do these things from a true place. Because if there's resistance in, let's say, for example, keeping Shabbos, and then you don't keep Shabbos, that, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyways. But that is your truth in that moment. When a person consciously or unconsciously decides to do anything, but in this case decides not to keep Shabbos or just doesn't keep Shabbos, that is their truth. And how do we know that? Because they're not keeping Shabbos. Like, we can't fight with reality. It's like this concept that we constantly think like reality is playing out the way it's playing, and then we try and fight it, and we try and resist it, and we try and tell it that it shouldn't be this way, but it should, because it is. So if somebody in their point of life is not keeping Shabbos, that's their truth. And the world doesn't have to accept it, but you as a person have to accept that. So if you can fully accept that I'm not keeping Shabbos and that's my truth, go with that. Because eventually your truth will, if you're awake enough and recognizing uncomfortable feelings in your body or situations in life, you'll be aware enough to recognize that something's missing, something's wrong, something's not true for you. But in life, whatever it is that we're doing, it's really important we do it without resistance. And knowing that, in this case again, if you're not keeping Shabbos, don't start keeping Shabbos because you feel guilty. Don't not keep Shabbos if that feels like it's something true for you because you feel guilty. Obviously, if you're an Orthodox Jew, that's the hope and that's the goal. That as a community, as society, as a Jewish nation, it is a belief we all, it says in the Torah, keep Shabbos, right? But I'm talking on like a really individual, almost from the mental health perspective of life, because I'm not here trying to preach religion or Judaism. I'm really just trying to be helpful from a mental health perspective. And if it feels true to you, or if you are around people that aren't living according to how you think they should be living, don't get mixed up in their truth. Okay, let them live out whatever's true for them, whatever's true. It might not actually be true for them, but let them go discover that, because they need to come to be doing all of the things. We ourselves need to come to do anything in life from a place of non-resistance, from a place of want, from a place of love. And that's how Shabbos is for me now. And had, all these years I was struggling back and forth, like I should, I shouldn't, guilt, not guilt, shame, lots of guilt of like, why don't I care? Like, I don't care to keep Shabbos, but I should care. I'm a Jew. And that just stops you from your process. Had I not gone through what I've gone through, I don't know that I'd be able to come to this place where I'm living right now, like loving and looking forward to Shabbos. Like, I literally go out on Monday and like I'll shop in the shuk and be like, oh yeah, I'll get this for Shabbos. And then I'll stop myself and be like, whoa, Shifra, like 2 years ago you didn't care about Shabbos. Now you're like, oh my God, this beautiful food for Shabbos. It's like trippy. But I wouldn't have gotten to that place had I not gone through everything that I've gone through. So really my point is we really should take the time to stop and think about why we're doing the things we're doing, and ask questions, learn, ask questions and really learn, study why it is that we do the things that we're doing. Or in Judaism, like, why do we do certain things? Why don't we do certain things? And if you are like in a place that I was in where I would want to have the want. That was where I was at. It was like, I want to have the want to do this, but I just don't. Then if you study it and learn it, maybe that desire will start manifesting itself. So really, really, like, we should really study these things and the reasons as to why we do certain things. And it really helps to get to the places that we want to genuinely get to. And yeah. Thank you for listening.